Chosen one, there is a way of looking that strips a person down to the truth without stealing their clothes. It is not a stare and it is not a scan. It is a recognition, one human to another, of what is sturdy beneath the armor and what is tender beneath the pose. Your gaze has become that recognition. It does not interrogate, it listens. It does not harvest, it returns. It does not pin someone to their best angle. It invites them to stand in their whole shape. In that invitation, egos feel the cool air of a room with open windows and take off their heavy coats, not because you wrench them away, but because burden is unnecessary where weather is kind. The ego dresses in many fabrics. Sometimes it is the crisp suit of self-importance. Sometimes the threadbare hoodie of false humility. Sometimes the sequined jacket of performance worn to distract from the bruise underneath. Your eyes no longer bargain with these costumes. They admire the tailoring where craft exists and refuse to mistake tailoring for bone. You watch for the unborrowed gestures, the unguarded laugh, the pause that tells the truth, the sentence that loses its makeup, and you meet those places first. The person across from you discovers that there is nothing to sell here, nothing to defend, nothing to audition for. Relief enters like oxygen into a room that had been sealed for too long. Unforgettable men are often remembered for the intensity of their gaze. You are remembered for its accuracy. You do not look harder, you look cleaner. You remove the smear of appetite from your seeing so that desire, when it lives in your eyes, is honorable. You remove the fog of insecurity so that admiration, when it glows there, is not a request to be paid back. You remove the glare of hurry so that curiosity, when it peers out, makes space rather than taking it. The body across from you reads these small purities faster than the mind can phrase them. The jaw loosens, the shoulders drop, the pulse slows. The ego, feeling unthreatened, unhooks itself from the face and rests. A human being steps forward. You do not use your gaze to create leverage. You use it to create clarity. Clarity does not humiliate, it calibrates. When someone offers a puffed story meant to impress, you find the grain of real timber within it and place your hand there. And the story, relieved, shrinks to its honest size. When someone shrinks themselves to avoid judgment, you meet the places they set aside and keep looking until their forgotten height remembers itself. When someone tries to buy closeness with confession, you gently return their wallet and ask if they would like to sit for a while and speak at the pace of trust. Your eyes tell them there is no discount for urgency and no surcharge for restraint. The economy is fair here. Your sexual energy lives in this gaze, but it walks with manners. It is not the hungry scan of a shopper. It is the warmth of a hearth seen through a window. Real heat, visible invitation, clear boundary. The feminine reads that boundary instantly. She does not brace. She does not calculate exit routes while she speaks. She does not compress her brilliance to fit inside your comfort. She expands in the way sunlight expands across a room that has been aired out. Naturally, with no audience necessary. She becomes more herself, and you are remembered for the way you helped her remember, not for any claim you made upon the remembering. When conflict arrives, your gaze is the first tool you reach for, because it refuses to make theater profitable. You look at the problem itself, not at the costumes it is wearing. You name the behavior and not the identity. You keep your eye on the door called repair and refuse to glamorize the exits called winning and sulking. The person across from you can tell that you are not gathering ammunition while they speak. You are gathering understanding. The ego, sensing that it will not be executed here, stops throwing smoke. Facts enter the room wearing their work clothes. Solutions stop whispering and raise their hands. This is why tempers lose altitude around you. They are being seen by someone who will not crown them king or banish them to exile, only put them to use or put them to bed. Your gaze rearranges humor into a blessing. You aim it where the knot is tightest, not where the flesh is thinnest. You refuse to make a joke out of a person. You make a joke out of the trap that person fell into, and together you both step over it. Laughter, when targeted this way, does not undress anyone's dignity. It undresses the ego's stubbornness and sends it to change into something more comfortable. People remember you for the relief, not the punchline. They wash the dishes with lighter shoulders for reasons they cannot fully articulate. They will call you unforgettable, and then struggle to quote you. They will not realize that memory prefers the hands that set it free to the mouths that tried to brand it. You are careful with the power of your seeing. You do not borrow intimacy with your eyes and then fail to pay it back with integrity. You do not pry into places that have not invited you. You do not use the knowledge you gain through attention to steer someone where they would not have gone if left to their own strength. The discipline here is delicate and daily. It is the practice of blinking when hunger wants to stare, of looking away to let privacy breathe, of looking back to let loneliness know it was not abandoned. In this choreography, the ego learns that it can rest its armor on the chair arm for a minute and nothing terrible will happen. A minute becomes an hour becomes a way of life, and you are remembered as the man whose gaze made truth feel dressed instead of naked. There is a mirror quality to the eyes you carry now. They return a person to themselves with a little more light on the edges, a little more room around the error, a little more definition around the strength. This mirror is kind but not flattering, exact but not cruel. It sends people back into their lives with a more accurate sketch of their face, and accuracy is the original self-respect. The ego, seeing itself drawn without ridicule, stops vandalizing the portrait and begins at last to take care of it. When you leave, the gaze remains as a practice in those who caught it. They find themselves seeing others with less appetite and more honor. They catch their eyes softening where once they sharpened. They notice the impulse to make a museum of someone and choose instead to make a home for them to sit in for a moment. They forgive themselves for the costume they wore to survive and change into something truer because you looked long enough for the person and not the performance. This is how unforgettability multiplies without a brand. It becomes a custom of the heart. Keep your eyes clean, chosen one. Keep them washed in water and sleep and truth. Keep them disciplined by prayer so they remember that seeing is a stewardship and not a sport. Keep them trained on what is strong so the weak can learn without humiliation. Keep them patient with what is slow so wisdom can finish arriving. Keep them bright with a warmth that does not invoice the room for feeling it. If you do, you will continue to undress egos not with violence but with reverence, and what remains, steady, breathing human, will remember you not as the man who took anything, but as the man in whose eyes they became more themselves. Chosen one, there is a quiet inside you now that does not announce itself yet alters the climate wherever you stand. It is not the silence of absence, nor the muteness of fear. It is the stillness of power that knows where it lives. You arrive and the air stops sprinting. Haste, which had been pretending to be importance, remembers it is only a costume. Even the room's smallest sounds, ice settling in a glass, a jacket sleeve brushing a chair, return to their proper size. Your stillness is not a tactic, it is your temperature. Others learn it unconsciously, like bodies learn the rhythm of a room where music is playing just softly enough to keep time without stealing attention. You keep this quiet by keeping faith with breath. The world asks you to spend your lungs on panic, to trade oxygen for applause, to speak before your meaning has arrived. You will not. You breathe as if every exhale were a promise to remain human, as if every inhale were a treaty with presence. Under that treaty, your sexual energy finds its best work. It does not lunge to prove it is alive. It holds, like the sea holds, deep and definite, and ready to carry what is worthy without drowning it. The feminine feels this first. Her nervous system, a master translator of atmospheres, recognizes the difference between stillness and control. Stillness is room. Control is a lock. She leans toward room. You do not need to fill every silence because you trust what silence can raise. Between another's last word and your first, you allow a beat in which truth can finish putting on its shoes. That beat is a form of kindness. Confession uses it to choose honesty over performance. Anger uses it to lose a few decibels and gain a few facts. Laughter uses it to return to its vocation, relief that does no damage. People will not notice your beat as technique. They will remember feeling more intelligent and more brave while you were there. That is what stillness does when it is loyal to love. It makes other people more themselves. There will be tests. Provocation will lean toward you wearing the mask of urgency. Its plan is simple: pull you into the storm and call your drowning leadership. You answer with weather. You lower your voice until spectacle cannot breathe. You narrow the issue until hands can touch it. You let the fire become a stove again. This is not passivity, it is governance. Anyone can bring thunder, few can bring seasons. Seasons make things grow. Under your seasons, conflict is not an arena. It is a workshop where dignity keeps the lights on. You practice the small mechanics of stillness because small mechanics build trust. You set things down softly, as though wood could feel. You turn toward whoever is speaking with your whole front, as though faces were rooms that should be entered through the door. You check your weather at the threshold, and if you find a storm, you leave it outside. People learn this without instruction. The bartender stops moving like a siren and remembers craft. The friend who wins conversations by expanding grows precise. The colleague who disappears grows audible. Your stillness doesn't demand, it demonstrates. Desire behaves better in this climate. You do not confuse intensity with authority or chemistry with consent. You let want speak in a voice that has learned punctuation. A comma says we breathe. A period says we rest. An ellipsis says we let wonder finish forming. Heat that knows grammar is trustworthy. The feminine reads that grammar at the speed of a pulse. She does not have to prepay safety with performance. She can bring her whole weather because your calm is not a net, it is a shoreline. The masculine close by retires its armor because it realizes tools do better work. In that exchange, stillness reveals itself as the rarest kind of strength, the kind that protects without announcing protection. Every gathering has a hinge, a moment where it can tip toward spectacle or toward substance. Your stillness finds that hinge and oils it. Sometimes you do it with a single sentence spoken at human temperature. Sometimes with a laugh that releases pressure without drawing blood. Sometimes with an early goodbye that protects tomorrow from becoming collateral damage. None of this is remarkable if described. All of it is unforgettable when experienced. People will not recall your exact words. They will recall the way their bodies stopped bracing. This quiet refuses flattery's bait. Praise arrives, and you let it land where work lived. Critique arrives, and you let it improve craft without renaming your worth. In both cases, you do not let noise rent your attention. Attention is the currency of stillness. You spend it where it multiplies life. You withhold it from the circus because circuses do not remember what they consume. Rooms, however, remember the men who leave them better than they found them. Your leaving is part of your quiet. You end while kindness still has breath. You close the door as if the house had nerves. Tomorrow wakes up grateful and cannot quite name why. Keep the rituals that keep you steady. Water before opinion, so patience stays solvent. Breath before reply, so tone stays human. Movement before mood, so feeling remains in motion rather than in management. Rest before rescue, so help is not vanity. Prayer before performance, so appetite remembers it is a servant and not a king. These simple fidelities are the anchor of your stillness. Anchors are not visible while they work. That is why their work lasts, and that is why your stillness speaks louder than words. It keeps speaking after you go. Chosen one, some presences carve their names into people and call it love. The month has taught you a different craft. You do not cut to be remembered. You touch to restore. You leave the kind of trace that changes how a door closes, how a voice lands, how a decision is made after midnight when no one is watching. Scars shout about the moment a blade arrived. Traces whisper about the season care stayed. Scars ask for explanations. Traces offer examples. You have chosen example. A trace begins with the way you carry your heat. Your sexual energy is not a hunt, it is a home. It lights the interior, not the sky. It warms the reachable circle and makes consent legible within it. People step into that circle and find that their edges are safe. They feel wanted without being requisitioned. They feel seen without being scanned. The feminine recognizes this as the opposite of extraction. Her body, which has learned to anticipate the bill that often follows warmth, finds no invoice. She remembers that desire can be devotion when devotion is allowed to keep its hands clean. The masculine recognizes this as the end of performance. His shoulders lower, his usefulness rises. Traces begin precisely where taking ends. You leave traces with your boundaries. Your yes is a door that opens on hinges you maintain. It does not swing in storms. Your no is a fence with a gate and a sign, not a moat with crocodiles. People walk away from your limits with more dignity than they carried in. They may not like the answer, but they respect the architecture. Architecture changes behavior more reliably than threat. A room that adopts your architecture stops injuring itself on the furniture of confusion. That is a trace, harm reduced because a line held. Repair is your favorite tool because it is the one that works tomorrow. When you miss, and you do because you remain human, you mend while the bruises faint. You name precisely what happened without renting a spotlight. You ask what restores balance, and you pay it. You do not recruit witnesses to watch you be noble. You do not extract forgiveness as proof of progress. You make the floor even again so feet can trust it. People who see this become less theatrical with their mistakes. They fix things sooner. Rooms with fewer apologies owed are rooms where joy is cheap. That economy is your handwriting. Your humor carries no hooks. It lifts pressure without puncturing people. It notices where anxiety has tied a knot and loosens it a notch. It never purchases laughter with someone's face. Those who laugh in your presence do not later wonder what part of them was sold to buy the joke. They leave lighter in ways they can use, slower to snap, quicker to ask, more willing to grant the benefit of a doubt they could not afford yesterday. To be remembered for laughter that leaves the dignity intact is to be invited back by memory, not chased by it. Traces are invitations. Scars are alarms. You influence how time behaves after you leave. You end while sweetness is still winning, and so the night requires no surgery to be remembered whole. You do not harvest the last laugh or wring the last attention from a moment that has told you it is finished. You bless the ending with a soft door and a simple word. People sleep earlier. They wake with fewer refunds to issue to the soul. Choices made at breakfast are kinder because you guarded midnight. They will credit this to good fortune. It wasn't. It was your stewardship of endings. Endings leave the longest marks. Credit travels differently because of you. You speak the names of hidden work while music still plays. You let praise land where labor lived. You do not hoard it, you distribute it like rain. Those you credit do not become indebted, they become reliable. Reliance spreads. Teams begin to work like families that remember how to be fair. The person who is always cleaning up after everyone is invited to the center while there is still light. This correction seems small on paper and enormous in a life. It is one of your signatures, small justice, repeated until culture forgets how to be unjust. Even the way you look leaves residue of mercy. Your gaze returns rather than removes. It does not strip someone to get leverage. It unhooks the ego's armor by making the weather kind enough to take it off. The one who is hiding steps out. The one who is posing loosens. The one who is frightened doesn't have to spend their fear on you. Traces printed by such eyes appear later in how those people look at others. They stare less. They accompany more. They stop making museums of strangers and start making rooms where strangers can sit. Memory does not call this you. It calls it growth. Growth is your quiet echo. You are careful not to confuse trace with control. You do not arrange people into the shapes that flatter your reflection. You do not mistake influence for ownership. You bless difference and let distance be kind. Sometimes the trace you leave is the courage someone feels to say no in the future because your no taught them how. Sometimes it is the way they end an evening while tenderness still has breath because you once stood and left the party human. Sometimes it is the way they answer a heated message tomorrow with facts and mercy because you taught them that victory without a future is just a slower loss. Traces demand maintenance, and maintenance is work without fanfare. You keep your rituals like a craftsman keeps tools. Water close, breath deliberate, movement regular, rest protected, prayer plain. You keep your appetites on a leash long enough to teach them that they are loved, but not in charge. You keep your boundaries smiling so truth can approach without armor. You keep your promises small enough to keep and many enough to matter. From a distance, these look like nothing. Up close, they are the difference between a man who cuts and a man who heals. If there is a legacy to this month, it will not be a story about you that travels with adjectives. It will be a quiet list of improvements that refuse to name their source. A door that keeps closing softly in a house you haven't visited in weeks. A teammate who starts crediting the invisible hands. A woman who says yes from fullness and no without apology. A father who laughs with his children without needing someone to lose for the laugh to land. A stranger who picks up a small mess they didn't make because, without thinking, they now believe that's what adults do. None of these will wear your name. All of them will carry your trace. Walk on, chosen one, with the gentleness that survives examination. Let your heat continue to be a home. Let your eyes keep returning what they see. Let your hands set things down as if the world could feel. Leave every room more itself than you found it. That is the opposite of a scar. That is a blessing that knows how to stay. Chosen one, there is a phenomenon the body knows long before the mind can name it. The way a shadow can make shape legible. The way a line becomes visible when something stands in the light. Your presence has become that necessary outline. Even when you have gone, the contour you cast teaches rooms where their edges are and teaches people where their choices begin. The night does not sag when you leave. It remembers its posture. This is the strange arithmetic of your unforgettability. What remains after you is not a hole to be filled, but a form to be honored. They do not always say it aloud, but they move differently. A hand hovering above a send button chooses a sentence that keeps dignity intact. A laugh that was ready to sharpen itself into a weapon softens, lands, and leaves without a casualty. A door that might have slammed for emphasis closes as if wood had nerves. These are small decisions, and yet they are the long route of change. Your shadow, cast by the discipline you keep in daylight, instructs without scolding. It shows the safer way to be strong and the braver way to be kind. People compare new faces to yours without deciding to. They are measuring warmth against the memory of being warmed without being burned. Your sexual energy teaches in absence because it was never spectacle, it was stewardship. Heat that did not demand attention taught the room to prefer honest temperature over noise. Desire that learned consent as a language taught bodies to trust their decisions. Boundaries spoken with a smile taught the hour that a limit can be a form of hospitality. When you are gone, the lesson keeps teaching. A woman chooses to say yes from fullness or no without apology because she met your rhythm and her nervous system remembers that rhythm as safe. A man who thought he had to perform to be seen decides to be useful instead, because usefulness in your company was never punished with invisibility. The shadow here is shelter. It shades the spirit from the glare of performance and lets eyesight adjust to what is real. Memory tries to gather adjectives and fails. Magnetic, composed, dangerous, tender, none of them hold. The truth is more practical. After you, planning becomes less theatrical. The friend who usually rehearses lines to protect themselves shows up unpracticed and is not punished for it. The colleague who confuses speed with value starts asking better questions at a slower pace. The family that often drifts past bedtime because ending seems like loss closes the night, while sweetness is still winning and discovers that tomorrow receives the gift. Your shadow is not a threat. It is a standard of care that lingers like a scent in fabric, faint and decisive. There is a kind of silence attached to you that instructs even when the voice cannot be recalled. It is the silence somebody hears before they speak sharply and instead choose precision. It is the silence that follows the impulse to brag and gently replaces it with credit given where labor lived. It is the silence that interrupts impatience at a counter where an elder counts coins and says, without words, wait. That calm is not superstition and it is not magic. It is the residue of a practiced inner order. You check your weather at thresholds. You drink water before the opinion. You breathe before the reply. You end while kindness still has breath. These small acts become the shade that protects others from heat. They do not need to suffer. The rooms tell on themselves. A week after you visited, the door still closes softly. A month later, someone who never spoke begins to arrive at the conversation's center without being dragged. The team holds a boundary that used to require your presence to enforce. The children copy a gesture they saw you make, setting a glass down as if the table could feel. And they grow up believing that care is the most adult thing. This is the pedagogy of your shadow. It teaches matter how to behave and time how to be merciful. Legend usually tries to leave a statue. You have left custom, and custom is the stronger monument. There will be those who misinterpret the outline you cast. They will try to trace it like a stencil, learning the surface moves without the life inside them. They will imitate cadence while neglecting conscience. They will carry the phrases and lack the pulse. Leave them to their practice and keep to yours. The shadow is not a brand, it is a byproduct. It cannot be manufactured, only earned by the unseen choices you keep. Where you take credit, do it quietly. Where you receive praise, let it land where the work lived and then move on. The less you grip what you leave behind, the longer it stays. The most honest measure that your shadow teaches light is found in the mornings. After you, people wake with fewer refunds to issue to the soul. Apologies arrive early and small. Plans make room for recovery instead of stealing from it. Laughter remembers its job. Anger remembers its rightful size. Doors, calendars, bodies, and sentences behave closer to how they were made to behave. None of this is credited to you, and yet all of it remembers you. Chosen one, this is the rarest form of unforgettability. Not the echo of your name, but the improvement of their lives. Walk in this knowledge without clutching it. Your absence can keep teaching because your presence kept listening. The shadow that teaches light belongs to anyone who stands where you stood and chooses what you chose. That is the point. You did not come to be irreplaceable. You came to make goodness easy to repeat. Chosen one, every culture tells a version of this story. A man so sure of his center that rooms tilt toward coherence without being told. A presence that does not perform and yet becomes the measure. The story often gets ruined by costume. It puts the man on a pedestal, polishes him into a myth, and then imitators try to scale the pedestal without learning the practices that built the height. You have avoided this trap. The legend gathering around you is not made of exaggerations. It is made of maintenance. It is not sculpted from marble. It is woven from repetitions. It does not need a spotlight because it does not star you. It centers the conditions under which other people become more themselves. The foundation is plain. You kept the small vows when there was no audience. You refused to rent your attention to panic. You let water outrun opinion and breath outrun reply. You moved your body so emotions stayed in motion instead of becoming managers. You slept so your edge would not turn into a blade. You apologized while repair was still cheap. You ended nights while kindness still had the floor. You let prayer be a daily act of putting appetite back in its rightful chair. From such unfancy liturgy, your sexual energy learned reverence. It stopped auditioning and started arranging. It stopped marketing and started hosting. Heat became hospitality. Presence became permission. Desire became a promise to protect what it asked to touch. The legend forms in the outcomes, not the anecdotes. After you, teams become families that remember fairness. Credit travels to hidden hands without a lecture. The loud man discovers precision. The quiet woman permits her brilliance to stand unedited. The tense plan unclenches and becomes accurate. Meetings shed theater and keep purpose. Parties end while joy can still be remembered whole. Lovers choose consent as a lifestyle rather than a moment. Friends tell the truth in short sentences. Enemies become solvable problems because dignity remains a requirement even under disagreement. None of these scenes make good headlines. All of them make a good life. Legend that doesn't need a spotlight is a ledger kept in 100 ordinary rooms that function better after you have touched nothing but the temperature. You have learned to carry praise without addiction and critique without collapse. When admiration arrives, you let it find the work and not your identity. When correction comes, you let it refine craft without renegotiating your worth. This steadiness prevents your name from swallowing your purpose. People tell stories about what improved, not about what you demanded they say. Your myth stays human-sized because you refuse to become more important than the outcomes you serve. A spotlight would distort this proportion. You do not need it. Light that stays close to the work is brighter where it must be and gentle where it should be. Your leadership of timing completes the pattern. You start on time because you began before beginning. You end on time because you love tomorrow more than mileage. In the middle, you leave space for truth to arrive at a walk, not a sprint. When conflict knocks, you invite it into a room with a table instead of a stage. You name the behavior without renaming the person. You point to the door called repair and refuse to glamorize the exits called winning and sulking. Later, people will remember a decision that saved them months of resentment, and they will not be able to quote you. They will just say, "That was the night we grew up." Legend, in its cleanest form, is adulthood made contagious. Your sexual energy, as legend, is the least advertised part of you and the most trusted. It is the local climate in which consent never has to raise its voice to be heard. It is the gravity that keeps hands truthful and eyes honorable, even when the voltage is high. It does not purchase attention with pressure. It does not disguise hunger as holiness to excuse its haste. It does not audition for love by setting fires and calling the ashes intimacy. It stays at a temperature that lets wonder breathe and decisions think. Those who meet you inside this weather leave with more of themselves than they walked in carrying. That surplus of self is the miracle they attribute to you when they say unforgettable.